The Republican Party seems to have a little bit of a Nazi problem. Just how did they end up building a party where no one's allowed to have a pronoun, but thinking Hitler did nothing wrong is A-OK? I'm Paul, U.S. Army combat veteran. We're going to talk about that, plus the fact that it's not just the Republicans that have this problem. Let's get into it. Okay, so a group chat of the young Republicans and has leaked, revealing that a bunch of them just love Hitler. And I want to point out that young Republicans, the Republican Party is kind of the party of old people. Young Republicans, though, are anyone under 40. So, like, I'm a young Republican, okay? Well, I would be if they weren't, loving America's adversaries. But this is a Telegram chat between, these are pretty up-and-coming members of the Republican Party. I just want to give you guys some of the quotes and the people who are in it. Now, we have Peter Giunta, who U.S. media reported is 31 years old and the chair of the New York State Young Republicans, created this Telegram group to rally support for his campaign to become the national chair of the Young Republicans organization. And this is, condemned by Republicans and Democrats, but less so from Republicans. It has literally 3,000 pages of messages. So this was not like two dudes in the chat. This is phenomenal, right? Giunta said, quote, "I love Hitler," in one of the messages. Not mincing words there. The participants in chat included Annie K. Caddy, a New York National Committee member for the party, Bobby Walker, who took over as the New York State Young Republicans chair after Giunta resigned for a totally separate scandal of stealing money and unpaid and stiffing bills for club events. Brilliant. But Giunta wrote, quote, "Everyone that votes no is going to the gas chamber, and everyone that endorsed but then votes for us is going to the gas chamber." Ha 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 ha. What a funny thing to say. Right? While discussing his campaign to become chair, he said, quote, "I'm going to create some of the greatest psychological torture methods known to man." Ha ha ha. He added, "Can we fix the showers? Gas chambers don't fit the Hitler aesthetic," replied Joe Maglino, whose bio on X stated he was the general counsel for the New York State Republicans and vice chair of the Staten Island Young Republicans. Huh. Gas chambers don't fit the Hitler aesthetic. Who's creating a Hitler aesthetic, right? William Hendricks, vice chair of the Kansas Young Republicans, used the N-word more than a dozen times. William Hendricks is white. He also referred to black people as monkeys and, quote, "the watermelon people." In America, by the way, that's referring to African slaves growing watermelon as a cash crop. In separate messages, of course, both repeated the claim that black people were watermelon people. One member asked the group if they were watching an NBA match, and Giunta replied, quote, "I'd go to the zoo if I wanted to watch monkeys play ball." Holy shit. Even I didn't realize it was this bad. Walker said a mutual friend, quote, "dated this very obese Indian woman for a period of time." Giunta responded that the woman was not Indian. Then a state senator from northern Vermont named Samuel Douglas interjected, writing, "She just didn't bathe often." Another occasion, Douglas's wife joined the chat, made a racist anti-Semitic reference, quote, "expecting the Jew to be honest." In another message, Walker wrote, quote, "My people built train tracks with the Chinese," referring to his Italian ancestry, and Magley wrote, "Let his people go, keep the," and then a slur for Chinese people. On a separate occasion, Giunta wrote, "If your pilot is a she and she looks like 10 shades darker than someone from Sicily, just end it there, scream the no-no word." At another point, Luke Mosselman, chair of the Young Arizona Republicans, wrote, "The Spanish came to America and had sex with every single woman." Dwyer replied, "Sex is gay." And Dwyer said, "Sex, question mark, it was rape." Very cool. Very cool. Right? Again, the groups, of course, spoke freely about the fact that if you don't kiss Trump's ass, you're going to be called a rhino. And they then criticized the president for suppressing documents related to Epstein. In one message, Dwyer wrote, "Trump's too busy burning the Epstein files." Literally, even the Nazis are like, dude, you should release those files. You know it's a fuck up when even the literal Nazis are like, yeah, but you could tell us if you fuck them kids, right? What's interesting is that, again, there's only one Trump administrator in here named Michael Bartels. I guess if you're in the Trump administration, then you're not a young Republican. You're the establishment Republicans. But the like, I just, well, here's the problem. This isn't a lone situation. Here's another young Republican, a 31-year-old who was actually tagged to, named Paul Ingrassia, and he was tagged to lead the Office of Special Counsel, who is essentially helps protect whistleblowers and other individuals who are discriminated against for protected activities. It's a pretty important job and meant to have a high level of independence in the government. Ingrassia, who is supposed to have a Senate confirmation on Thursday, literally just dropped some of the craziest remarks in a group chat I have literally ever seen, particularly because the group chat included Republican insiders and literally influencers. Guys, if you drop some crazy shit in the group chat, it's going on my channel. Just how it goes. Here's some actual quotes from this dude, and you can decide for yourself how Nazi-like they sound. He said, quote, "MLK was the 1960s George Floyd, and his holiday should be ended and tossed in the seventh circle of hell where it belongs." I'm going to get, FYI, guys, I'm going to get demonetized for this. I literally do not care because I think this is important because the news whitewashes some of this insanity so much that it drives me crazy. So we need to hear exactly who these people are. And I want to be clear. Right now, most of the, well, we're going to go from bottom to top in terms of membership in the administration. But if you want to support what I do, keep me independent. You can imagine sponsors not touching me. You can become a member at Combat Vet News. You're going to get access to twice weekly drops, Tuesdays and Thursdays. We do some uncensored combat videos, but we also do a Q&A. There's a whole bunch of stuff. You get the shout outs if you want them, right? I understand that a lot of people may not want to be publicly affiliated with my channel, and that's okay too. If you want to support me on the DL, also an option, just send us a message. The link is in the description. Okay. Ingrassia also said he, quote, "had a Nazi streak." Well, don't mince words, buddy. The funny thing is that other people in the group chat, when he said that, the one person responded, "Jesus Christ," using an Italian slur for black people. Ingrassia wrote, "No more Italian slur holidays, from Kwanzaa to MLK Junior Day to Black History Month to Juneteenth. Every single one needs to be eviscerated." That's a really dumb thing to get worked up at. Even if you don't care. Don't you like a federal holiday? Isn't a federal holiday nice? Like, you think I'm going to piss it? You think I was like pissing and moaning that like, hey, I hadn't heard of Juneteenth. I'm some fucking East Coast Polish dude. But when the feds were like, yo, you want an extra day off? I was like, yeah, fuck it. Sure. What a dumbass. Right? One person retained the messages and showed the text chain in its entirety to Politico, who independently verified that the number listed on the chain belongs to Ingrassia. The person came forward because he wants the government to be staffed with experienced people who are taken seriously. Another person deleted the chain and didn't recall specifics about it, but confirmed that the discussions took place. Ingrassia's lawyer didn't even deny it. Said they were real, but they were totally making fun of liberals. Ah, yes, the classic liberal stance of thinking MLK is George Floyd. Yikes. He also said, Paul, right? When one text chat suggested, literally insulting him, saying Paul, the text chat person in the chat, belongs in the Hitler youth with Steve Bannon, he said, you got me. I do have a Nazi streak in me from time to time. I will admit it. Jesus Christ, dude. It's like they're not confessing, they're bragging. Ingracia talked about how much he loved white nationalist Nick Fuentes. And that's not me. Nick Fuentes himself calls himself a white nationalist. This is insane shit. He also added, quotes, these are direct quotes, never trust a Chinaman or Indian, never. Referring to Republican presidential candidate Vivek Ramaswamy. Whoa. Okay. He also added, quote, blacks behave that way because that's their natural state. You can't change them. Proof all of Africa is a shithole and will always be that way. Even his own other people were like, yo, dude, you can't say that you're a Nazi. He also sat there and said, Paul, one person said, literally, you're coming across a white nationalist, which is beneficial to nobody. And Gracia said, defending our founding isn't white nationalists. And then he said, whites built the country. It goes on and on like this. But here's the thing. One, I'm not going to talk about this story here about these Nazi flags found in a GOP representative's office, because I think there is some credibility that these were doctored by someone. They look doctored. I don't know what else to tell you. I actually kind of believe it because other people have reported that flags had been sent to different staffers, that it was part of a campaign. So it could be political trolling. But the problem is that with this is that, one, like, if he had just done Nazi shit, if these people had been elected and just not said Nazi things, that we wouldn't know, right? They would just do the stuff and they'd be like, I'm just doing it because I love America. But, you know, like Hitler said, I just did all these things because I love Germany. Well, they were bad, even if you did it because you love Germany or whatever. Like, these aren't excuses. Now, here's the thing. How did you end up with a Republican Party that loves Nazis? How did that become cool? How did one of the major U.S. political parties become a place where being a Nazi is so welcome? And the answer, unfortunately, is because one of the most influential people is a Nazi. This is Stephen Miller. Now, you can say whatever you want, but there's robust evidence that Stephen Miller is a Nazi, okay? Or is a racist and seeks to achieve objectives completely aligned with Nazi-style racial purity. Stephen Miller, in leaked emails in 2019, literally sent people links to actual white supremacist websites like the American Renaissance and VDare. He also promoted that people should read the neo-Nazi work, The Camp of the Saints, a French novel that depicts the collapse of Western civilization due to mass immigration from developing countries. He advocated for literally having a race test, literally the Peter Griffin race meme, right? He wanted to repeal the 1965 Hart-Celler Act, which ended discriminatory national origin quotas, which is to say, he wanted to introduce a Coolidge-like he wanted to ban immigration like Coolidge did, i.e., only let in people from white countries, right? Again, this is distinct and very important because, like, there is a neo-Nazi version of saying, hey, we should change the way we have immigration in this country, right? It's okay to say we should only let in doctors, lawyers, and engineers. But the Hart-Celler says, sure, but you have to let them in if they are, you can't discriminate if they are Indian or African engineers or Pakistani engineers. That's, like, important. Right? Now, Miller, there's now Trump himself. You might say, well, they're just emails. Well, here's the thing. In a literal speech in front of a bunch of donors, Trump said, quote, Miller joking that he wanted Miller to come up and explain his true feelings, direct quote. Trump continued, quote, I love watching him on television, referring to Miller. He continues, I'd love to have him come up and explain his true feelings, comma, maybe not his truest feelings. That might be going a bit too far. But they said, Stephen, thank you for doing an unbelievable job, and the people of this country love you. They love what you're saying about crime and stopping crime. What are his true feelings? Well, we know his true feelings, based on the sites that he loves and his beliefs, are that brown people bad, white people good. But a little more than that. Remember, he is the chief Homeland Security advisor to the president. And so, in addition to all the other evidence, we can see that he's literally introducing policies that essentially would mean that the asylum process should reject brown people and only favor white people. Now, you may note, again, as I said, there's like an economic non-Nazi case for saying, hey, we should have more immigration or less immigration. Like, that's okay. But that is not what the administration's saying. They're saying, listen, we should limit asylum to English speakers, white South Africans, and Europeans opposed to migration. Huh. The goal... So wait, so immigration is okay in Stephen Miller's vision, as long as the immigrants are white. How? But wait, won't those white immigrants take American jobs? Won't they drain American resources? That's all okay. It's okay to help them. They deserve the help, according to Stephen Miller, because they're white. Do you see? There is no other explanation for this policy change except being a neo-Nazi, except trying to create a country of racial purity. So it makes sense then that from the top all the way down is this normalization of being a Nazi. And this is how you end up with the future of the Republican Party being literally awash in Nazi beliefs. Now, here's the part that's insane. What's insane is that there's also this cultural rot. There's this cultural rot that views violence as effective, and it views like the scale of Nazi violence as intrinsically a sign of its effectiveness. And the problem is that now you have literally a Democrat, a progressive Democrat, Graham Planter, a former U.S. Marine who got a Nazi symbol tattooed on him. He got a Totenkopf tattoo. This is preposterous. And he's like, oh, I'm going to have the tattoo removed. Here's the gripe. Why do you think the Totenkopf makes you cool? One, I want to point out, the SS were not warriors. They didn't fight anybody. They killed unarmed civilians. They killed women and children. They're losers. They're losers. They're losers with cool uniforms. I get it. Hugo Boss designed their stupid uniforms, but they are fucking losers. They're like the ICE agent wearing $3,000 of tactical gear and level 4 plates to arrest a fucking tortilla seller. Like, I'm sorry. You're not cool. Wear your if you're going to wear plates, go to a place where someone's going to shoot back. This is the fundamental rot of this. And here's the thing. If you look at what it means to be a Nazi or to be a fascist, the glorification of violence is baked into that. And what you have is the ratio of LARPers to warriors is all fucked up. You have so many people who LARP as tough guys, who LARP as warriors, and who assume that the more violence you commit or have committed, the more warrior-like you are. Again, like, it's not how this works. And so the fact that we built this culture that views anyone who killed a lot of people must have been an effective warrior is how you end up with somebody like Graham Planter, who is probably really wants to institute progressive policies, end up with a Nazi tattoo. Dude also said he was a communist in the same Reddit, in his fucking Reddit history, which is just also just chef's kiss. Truly. Truly. God help the Democratic Party. You'd think there'd be one fucking normal person. but I guess you don't see me running for office. I know a dumb idea when I see it, right? So, anyway, guys, come support us over on Combat News. We talked about it, but thanks to our Colonel tier members, right? Paul Wheeler, Michael Clean, Jeff Davies, Francis Cars, Thomas Anderson, Gina Cuesta, and all of our Lieutenant tier members. We couldn't do it without you guys. We'll see you in the next one. Cheers.